Before the Aztecs built one of the most incredible cities in the world.
They marched for 200 years.
This is the story of their historic 200-year pilgrimage.
As told from the 16th century primary source, the Codex Boturini.
The Aztecs come from a place in the north called Aztlan, which means place of the White Heron.
Their city was on an island and they built a teocalli, or pyramid, in the center of the island with a temple dedicated to water and fire.
Around the temple, there were crowded neighborhoods. A couple, the goddess Chimalman and her husband, ruled the destiny of the Aztecs.
On the other side of the lake, there was a mountain called Culhuacan, the place of the ancestors, and the peak appeared as a curved mountain. Inside the mountain, there was a cave that the Aztecs went frequently to offer green branches to their god Huitzilopochtli.
And the Aztecs crossed the water to worship their god inside the cave. One day, they heard the song of a bird, a beautiful song that rose and seemed to say, Tiwi, 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 meaning, let's go, let's go, let's go. They called this cave inside of Mother Earth Giniwan Otstoto, the cave of the prompt exit, and they gathered the local neighborhoods. And they left for Culhuacan in the year 1 Flint. In Culhuacan, there were 7 neighborhoods.
Los Huesosincas,
The Chalcas,
the Xochimilcas,
the Malinancas,
los Chichimecas,
the Tepanecs,
and the Matlacincas,
and also the Aztecs from
Aztlan.
Passing through Culhuacan, the locals called out to the Aztecs, "Where are you going? Let us go with you." "Where do you want us to take you?" the Aztecs replied. "We just want to go with you," the locals from Culhuacan answered. Okay, firme, then come with us," said the Aztecs. The Aztecs brought with them a god called Huitzilopochtli. They carried him wrapped up, since according to some stories, they revered his bones as relics. Other versions claimed the wrapper contained a figure of the god made of wood. They left in the year 1 Flint. There was 4 groups, and 4 of them carried their god. The 4 were called Tio Memaken, or god transporters. They led the march. And Tezcatlipoca carried Huitzilopochtli and led the march. Cuatcuat was the second, followed by Apenicat. And the 4th was a woman named Chimalman. And they walked and walked until they reached a huge tree. It was so big that 5 men connected couldn't wrap their arms around it. They settled at the foot of a tree, and since then, this place was known as Coatepec. There, they made a small shrine of mud on which they placed the wrapped bones or wooden figure of Huitzilopochtli. They arranged to eat corn and a special sauce, which they put on a molcajete. And they were about to start eating when suddenly the tree that was giving them shade broke in a loud flash and loud noise, scaring everyone. They remained stunned, and this was a sign from Huitzilopochtli to break away. And shortly their god spoke to them. "Tell the 7 neighborhoods that we will stay here." And many were saddened by this. They exclaimed, "Oh man, where will we go without you? We all walked there together." The Aztec replied, "Well, no, you have to go alone now." So the 7 neighborhoods left the Aztecs at the foot of the tree. The Aztecs stayed there for a long time, then eventually left too.
The Aztecs carried their god with them. Tezcatlipoca led the way, followed by Cuacuat, Apanicat, and the female Chimalman was at the end. They crossed the desert of Teotihuacan in the north. They walked and walked and walked.
They walked till they met Owlman, and they fell next to some cactus swollen with water, while others fell at the foot of the mesquite tree. These were called Mixcoa, lunar divinities, dressed in animal skins, and they wanted to block the Aztecs' path. The first person was named Xunalzin, or Tricker's Mosaic. The second was named Mimicin, the Archer, and a third, a woman, an older sister, and her name could be read on her painted face, Teotihualli, the divine fate. Then Huitzilopochtli spoke to the Aztecs and said, "Get those who are next to the cacti, put them over the cacti, and they will be the first offerings." And they put the three over the different cacti and mesquite tree and offered them to Huitzilopochtli. And after this first offering, Huitzilopochtli changed their name. He said, "Now you will no longer be called Aztecs. Your new name will be Mexica." And after changing their name to Mexica, they put feathers on their ears and painted a stripe on their face. And Huitzilopochtli also gave them three new gifts: the bow, the arrow, and the net. They received the weapons with their left hands. Then they shot an eagle, which is to say, they shot the sun. After this offering, the Mexica followed their path. And they walked and walked. And in the year 2 house, they came to a place with 2 mountains, Coatepec y Chocoyan, the place where the Huasteca cried, and Coatepec, or Coatepec, in the jaws of the serpent, which is where they settled for the first time since leaving Aztlan. The Mexica stayed here for 26 years. And the years passed.
2 house,
3 rabbit,
4 cane,
5 flint,
6 house,
7 rabbit,
8 cane,
9 flint,
10 house,
11 rabbit,
12 cane,
13 flint.
1 house.
And the time went on. 2 rabbit, 3 cane, 4 flint, 5 house, 6 rabbit, 7 cane, 8 flint, 9 house, 10 rabbit, 11 cane, 12 flint, 13 house. In the year 2 cane, the Mexicas made their first new fire ceremony, and Huitzilopochtli was born at Snake Mountain with the Xioquat, the serpent of fire weapon. And many things merged: the rabbit and the cane, the moon and the sun, and water and fire. But in the year 2 cane, the Mexica left. In 3 flint, they went to Tolan, among the reeds, which was the city of the Toltecs. They stayed for 20 years. Now, before reaching Tolan, not even the Mexica were sure of their exact route. But from Tolan, or Tula, the exact migration of the Mexica can be traced to current cities in Mexico. Now, here's a map of their migration from Tula to the city that they founded on an island, Tenochtitlan. Now, back to their migration. The Mexica left Tolan in the year 9 cane. And in the year 10 flint, the Mexica moved to Altitalacan, where the water meets the land, and stayed for 10 years. Up until the year 6 house, the year they left for Temaco, place of incense, and stayed for 5 years. In the year 13 flint, the Mexica moved to Atotolinco, the place with warm waters, and stayed there for 5 years, up until the year 3 cane, where they went to Apasco, place of clay pots, and they stayed there 12 years, until the year 2 cane, in which the Mexica celebrated the new fire ceremony for the second time since they've left Aztlan. The fire ceremony took place on a mountain called El Monte Huitzol, and in 3 flint they arrived at Sopanco and stayed 4 years. In the year 7 flint, which is 1200 CE, the Mexica moved to Xaltocan, the land of sand spiders, and they stayed there for 4 years. Then the Mexica moved to Alcahuacan, land of canoes, and they stayed there 4 years. In the year 2 Flint, the Mexica moved to Coatepec, the place of the windy hill. And after 4 years in Coatepec, they went to Tolpetlac and stayed there for 8 years. In the year 1 Flint, the Mexicas moved to Coatitlan, place of snakes. During their stay, they went to Chalco to gather the maguey they planted. And 20 years later, they harvested the maguey. They scooped the heart of the maguey. They took out the aguamiel, which they fermented into pulque or ocle. In the year 8 Flint, the Mexica arrived in Huitzilopochtli, which had an environment like their own homeland, Aztlan. They stayed there for 4 years. In the year 12 Flint, the Mexica moved to Tecpayocan, land of flint, and for the 3rd time celebrated their new fire ceremony. But in the same year, they were also attacked by enemies, and one of their leaders, Tecapsin, flint, Huitzilopochtli, hummingbird feathers, and Tetepatzin, wall of rocks, were killed. In the year 3 Flint, the Mexica moved to Pantitlán, the place of flag, and they stayed there for 4 years. During this time, a skin epidemic broke out, Cocoxli, and many Mexica died. That same year, they left for Amanilalpan, meaning over the waters of the springs, and they stayed for 8 years. In the year 1 Cain, Tezosomoc was crowned as Tlatoani de Azcapotzalco, place of the anthill, and they returned to Patitlan and stayed 4 years. And in 5 Cain, they left for Alconahuac and stayed another 4 years. In the year 10 Flint, the Mexica moved to Popotlan, place of straws, and stayed there for 4 years. In the year 1 Flint, the Mexica moved to Tenochtitlan, land of sacrificial stones. They stayed in Tenochtitlan for 4 years, and Tenochtitlan took command of the Mexica in the year 2 House. Then the Mexica moved to Atlaquihuayan. There, locals showed the Mexica how to use a spirit throw, the Atlat. They spent 4 years there. Then the Mexica moved to Chapultepec in the hill of the grasshopper, which became the water source for the Aztecs. At Chapultepec, the Mexica spent 20 years. And in the middle of their last year, they were going to celebrate the new fire ceremony. But they were attacked and fled to Alcocolco, the land of curving waters. But the Mexica were captured by Culiacan soldiers. They dressed in moss and lamented their defeat, and they were taken to Culiacan. The Mexica leader, Huitzilopochtli, and his daughter were taken, disrobed, and paraded in front of the king of Culiacan, Coxcotli. Huitzilopochtli felt sorry for his daughter because she was nude. He wanted her to put something on. He said to the Tlatoani, "Have mercy on my daughter. Please let someone put something on her, oh great Lord." To which the Tlatoani replied, "No, I don't want to. She will continue as she is." In the year 3 Flint, the Mexica, still Culiacan prisoners, were taken to Coatitlan. They spent 4 years there. And in Coatitlan, their numbers grew. In that year, there was a war. The Culiacans went to war with the Xochimilcas. The Culiacan leader, Coxcotli, decided to use his Mexica prisoners as mercenaries to help him against the Xochimilcas, but also to kill the Mexicas and get rid of them. He went there to where the Mexica were in prison and said, "The Xochimilcas want to conquer us. I want you to kill or imprison 8,000 Xochimilcas. I want you to cut off one ear from each prisoner as proof of your victory, and you should bring them back in this sack. The Mexica were shocked by this request, but being the fierce warriors they were, the Mexicas accepted the challenge. They asked Coatepec for weapons, even if the weapons were owed. "No way," said the ruler. "They will leave without any weapons." And the Mexica deliberated what to use for weapons, and they decided to use their obsidian weapons. And they decided that they should cut their enemies' noses instead of their ears. If we cut their ears, Coatepec would think we're cheating and cut off both ears instead of one. So let's cut off their noses instead. So the Mexica marched to Xochimilco with the empty bag and obsidian and went to war, screaming war chants. But the Codex abruptly ends. But the story isn't over. Now, after more walking and more battles, the Mexica would find themselves in the middle of a swampy and snake-infested island in Lake Texcoco. But there, after 200 years of walking through deserts and fatal trials and tribulations, the Mexica would see their sign that they had finally reached their home in the year 1325. The sign was the eagle perched on the cactus, as promised by their god, Huitzilopochtli. And they turned a swampy island that they found that looked something like this and turned it into this. Mexico Tenochtitlan, the belly button of the moon, the center of the universe, one of the most advanced places in the world, where the Mexica would reign for nearly 200 years.